There's no denying it. I love movie props. Whether it's the Never-Ending Story, the Christopher Reeve Superman suit, the snow globe from Citizen Kane, Wilson from Castaway, the multipass from The Fifth Element, the Green Goblin's helmet, a Ghostbusters proton pack, Crocodile Dundee's knife, Robocop's armor, Doc's flux capacitor, or even McLovin's fake ID, there's just something about owning part of a movie. And the Poltergeist Clown doll is no exception. I remember seeing this little guy when I saw Poltergeist for the first time, and finding it to be absolutely terrifying. This thing just got under my 13-year-old skin, and really gave me the heebie-jeebies. So naturally, I always wanted it. But this doll has always fascinated me, as well as other fans of the movie Poltergeist. Now, it may not be talked about as much as, say, Chucky or the Gremlins, but it has still tormented many people's childhoods and no doubt gave them nightmares back in the day. So let's try to discover the secrets of the Poltergeist Clown doll and its terrifying power it has had over fans of Poltergeist, as well as its appeal and allure to crazy people like me who want to own it. Buckle up, peoples. The clowns are coming. G'day, it's Minty here. And you're probably wondering, why am I so fascinated with the Poltergeist Clown? Well, I haven't a bloody clue. But let's go on this journey so maybe we can find out. The Poltergeist Clown doll was made by a doll maker called Annette Little. She was literally an expert clown doll maker based in San Diego, where she had her own shop called Here Comes the Clowns. And yes, she made a lot of clown dolls and a lot of clown toys. So this is probably the shop you wouldn't want to enter if you had chlorophobia. An expert painter and sculptor, Little was renowned for her craft. According to old newspaper articles, it was March 1981 when Little was approached by MGM to make the clown doll for an at the time upcoming horror movie called Poltergeist, and she accepted, and it apparently took her 2 months to create. She got involved in the production because the wife of the prop master who worked on Poltergeist saw her work at a Californian exposition and urged her husband to reach out and call up Little and hire her to design the sinister clown doll that terrifies little Robbie Freeling. So now Little was no longer just making clown toys for her business, but rubbing shoulders with Steven Spielberg and Tobe Hooper. She had the task of designing a clown doll that does look like it could be passed off as a toy that parents may get for their children, but to also look unintentionally scary. Something that isn't meant to be terrifying, but by default, it is. Thanks to its fiery red hair, a grin with tiny little teeth that looks like it's up to no good, and long dangling limbs, Annette Little successfully created one of the most haunting and terrifying movie props of all time. And to look in the finer details, the fact that the doll is covered in stars and stripes may be a reflection of America. After all, it could be argued that Poltergeist is an evaluation of 1980s America, particularly the family unit. After all, the original Poltergeist script had the line which described the neighborhood as being, quote, middle America that World War II bought and paid for. That, and the movie literally starts with the American anthem, The Star-Spangled Banner, as well as patriotic imagery and World War II monuments. So it could be argued that there does seem to be themes of the modern idyllic American dream being built on the graves of World War II, and other little tiny details, like Robbie Freeling reads Captain America comic books. In fact, one of the production requirements was the clown was to be red, white and blue. Then there's the fact that the doll has a pointy hat with stars and moons, as well as a big star on its chest. This could also suggest that the clown is a wizard, or a being of strange supernatural forces. I've also heard others mention, including my favourite movie analyst Rob Ager, that there are subtle hints in the movie that suggest that the doll is an allegory of an apex predator. When we see a close-up of the clown doll, we hear a rattlesnake sound effect. And the clown also uses its long limbs to capture its prey by wrapping them around his victims' necks, as well as his clown bib, which almost looks like a spider or even an octopus. Interestingly, when we see the beast in its true form, just like the clown doll, it has long limbs and long scattery hair. Yeah, look at that. Also, remember when the giant head pops out of the closet and scares the heck out of Steve Freeling? Well, in the film, the head is in the form of a rotting skull. However, originally the head was to be that of an old man. And is it just me, or does this face kind of look like the clown doll face? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but at least that's what I take away from it. So to me, the clown doll isn't possessed by the beast, or a reflection of the beast, but it is the beast. Or at least its physical form. After all, in the Poltergeist novelization, which apparently was based on one of the earlier scripts, the clown doll just sort of turns up when Robbie Freeling has a birthday party, where he has to search for his presents in a birthday present treasure hunt, and finds the clown doll outside in the family barbecue, where he reaches for it and it bites him. Also, if the doll is the beast, it explains why it wasn't sucked into the closet like all the other toys, despite being directly flung towards it. And it also seemingly laughs when the parapsychologists inspect the room. Yep, the clown doll always seems to be there, laughing at all the confused people around it who don't know what's going on. But just by the look of that clown doll's face, he knows exactly what's going on. So going back to Rob Ager, who, as I mentioned, is my favourite movie analyst, he drew comparisons from the Poltergeist Clown doll to Pennywise from the Stephen King It novel, which was published 4 years after the release of Poltergeist. In that in the movie, the clown doll is like a spider, in that it wraps up its prey and drags it into a nest. And Pennywise in It was also a clown monster that was spider-like. One who attacked children, who the children of the town were scared of, while the grown-ups were completely oblivious. And yeah, I think Mr. Ager is onto something here. After all, in the book of It, Pennywise was described as being a clown with orange hair and a silver clown suit, of which the Poltergeist Clown also has orange hair and wears silver. So could King have been inspired by the Poltergeist Clown doll to create one of his most iconic characters? So going back to Annette Little, she actually made 4 clowns for MGM to use for Poltergeist. Firstly, there were 2 happy clowns. These were used when the doll is presented simply as that, a doll. And there are tiny subtle changes between the 2 happy dolls. So when you see the clown in its first scene staring at Robbie, and then later sitting behind Carol Ann, they are actually 2 different clowns, with just minor differences between them. Namely, tiny tweaks and changes made to the clown's paint job. And you know what, it looks like the eyes might be slightly different too. The other clown doll was the evil one, when it attacks Robbie Freeling in the movie's climax, where the clown now has an evil, sinister grin. And if you look closer at the prop's head, it's even dribbling. Ugh. Okay, that might be glue due to wear and tear. Yeah, apparently the head got cracks in it during the filming, probably due to the rambunctious nature of the filming, so glue had to be used to keep the head together. But still, bleh. However, there was one version of the clown that wasn't used, one that was to be a sort of halfway transition, a mixture of both the happy clown and evil clown. You see, in the original movie, the clown doll goes straight from having a happy face to the sinister one, but it was originally intended to show the clown in between that transition, to show another version which was a hybrid of the first and second one, making the clown's transition to evil to be more gradual. But this hybrid version was never used, but it's still fascinating to see what could have been. The doll that I've been featuring in this video was made by horror movie prop creator Steven over at a company called Stab Light Creations in Belgium, where he makes replicas of the Poltergeist Clown, both the happy and evil versions. And I was really interested to see how he creates these dolls and what started him doing this interesting hobby. So let's hear it from Steven himself.
Hi everybody, first and for all I'd like to introduce myself. I am Steven, I am from Belgium. I am a movie enthusiast, I collect movies, I collect anything movie related, and I also love creating movie stuff myself. I've always been creative as a kid, also as an adult, but it was during lockdown I started taking things more serious. Back when everybody was at home, I had lots of time to watch movies, so I watched Poltergeist again. and I was really mesmerized by the clown featured in the movie. I was so obsessed with the look of it. I wanted a doll for myself, for my collection. Now, unfortunately, when hunting for a replica of the doll, there was no such thing. So nothing like Chucky you can find, Freddy Krueger, and so on. I spoke to a couple of people online in Facebook groups and people who were working on the film, like Oliver Robbins, the actor. I've come to the conclusion it must have been like a right issue, I'm not sure, but as of today, there's no mass-produced clown on the market. So I started looking around, and not to diss anybody's work, there are replicas out there, but I just didn't think they were that screen accurate. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna make one myself. And since I had plenty of time during lockdown, I decided to make a batch of 5 copies. I sold them instantly, and I discovered there was a huge demand and love for the Poltergeist Clown, just like I have. So that was interesting. Now, back when I did my research, there wasn't a ton of information out there on the clown. No really high resolution pictures were available, so I had to basically rely on screenshots that I took from the movie, countless low-res pics that I took from the internet, and just studying the clown from head to toe. The way I made sure the height was correct, there was actually a picture of a screen-used Happy Clown displayed in Planet Hollywood, I believe, and it had a measuring sticker in front of it, so that's how I got to know how high exactly the clown is. And also for the head, I had one customer who owns a official clown head by Annette, the creator, and when he bought one, he sent to me, they're about the same size, so that worked out pretty fine too. Now, it was my goal to recreate the original as close as possible. The original clown heads were actually made from ceramic, and they were hand painted. They almost look like oil paintings to me. Now, I hand sculpted the clown heads with polymer clay, and then I made a mold of them to make resin copies. I opted for resin because obviously it's a more durable material than ceramic, especially when shipping overseas. I use acrylics to paint the faces. To me, it's important that the faces have a hand-painted look, so each face is obviously going to be a little bit different than the other one, but I try to be as consistent as possible with the main goal to recreate that hand-painted look. They're also a hollow. They actually have a tube inside, a foam tube, and the body is made of a foam core tube also, and the one in the body has a bigger tube, so you basically insert the head into the body. So that's a good thing because the heads are interchangeable, because I've also made a evil clown version. After seeing the higher resolution pictures of the evil clown that was auctioned last year, I went ahead and made the evil head version too, because there was a lot of demand. I also made all the clothing patterns. There were no patterns online to be found, so I had to make them from scratch. It was all a little eyeballing. After seeing the pictures from the evil clown, they were high resolution. I saw that some of my original patterns were not correct. The stitches were different, so I went ahead and changed that too to make it even more screen accurate. I also inserted bendable wires into the head, so the hat actually, so it can position the top of the hat. The wires are also found in the arms, the legs, and the fingers, so you can pose them to your liking. And of course, they're made with real bells. Actually, one night when Clown was finished, I heard some bells ringing, and I was like freaking out. I was like, what is this? But it was actually my cat toying with the clown. So yeah, you never know. Be aware, be careful. And I just love, the contrast of the more roughy textured face paint and the contrast with the shiny, colorful, shimmering fabrics. I just think it's so beautiful and iconic. It's not like Chucky, who has a more clean, like factory face paint. It's really, hand painted, and that's what I love so much about it, Now, this project really was a labor of love. I'm so happy to finally own a replica of the Poltergeist Clown. I know I am never going to top the craftsmanship of Annette Little. What she did was amazing, but I did my best with tons of research, trial and error, lots of practice to make a replica that looks somewhat like it. And I think in the end, I'm very happy with what I've been able to make for myself and of course for tons of other people. It's really an honor to make those clowns for you guys and to see how much joy you get out of them. So yeah, that's why I wanted to make this video. I want to thank Minty too as well. He's an awesome guy. He's so funny. I love his YouTube channel and I'm so glad to be featured on here. And so yeah, thank you for watching and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Good on you, Stephen. Thank you so much for your clowns and your contribution to this video. An amazing job. It's interesting that he said that his cat played around with the doll a bit and made its bells jingle, as when I got my prop, my cat Sebby fell in love with it and kept snuggling into it. Seriously, he thought this clown was his wife or something. Who knows, maybe there's just something about this design that cats love. Anyway, Annette Little found working with MGM to be a very positive experience, and the production were very happy with her work. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing when filming with the doll. There's that infamous story of when filming the scene of the clown attacking Robbie Freeling, the doll's arm that was wrapped around his neck was actually choking actor Oliver Robbins, and Spielberg just thought that he was giving a really good acting performance, and yelled out, "Keep it going, you're doing great!" And it was only when Robbins turned blue that Spielberg knew there was a problem and got the puppet off Robbins. According to a newspaper clipping, Little wasn't credited for making the clown props, but the credit went to the prop master of that movie. She also did make a version of the doll to keep for herself, but with MGM's permission, I'm guessing because they own the rights to the design, where she would put it on display at her shop, and people would frequently call it the Poltergeist Clown. But Little actually didn't like that name. Interestingly, she called the clown Rasputin, named after, well, Rasputin, of course, a highly controversial mystic holy man. So coming from the mouth of the creator herself, is the clown's name actually Rasputin? And did she have Rasputin in mind when creating the doll? And more importantly, is there supposed to be parallels between Rasputin and the Poltergeist Clown? As Steven said, one of the clowns that was used in the movie did end up at Planet Hollywood at some stage, and just a few years ago, another one was auctioned off. And there are whispers out there that Zach Baggins, as in the Ghost Adventures guy, owns one of the screen-used props, as well as other names floating around as to who may or may not actually own a clown prop from the movie. When I saw photos of the clown props in recent years, I couldn't figure out why they were now wearing pink. Was there some kind of accident and the clown's clothes were accidentally dyed? Well, no. This is the result of time, as over the years, the blue has faded into pink. I couldn't find out any further information on Annette Little, but I think she acts as an important reminder in filmmaking, in that although whenever we think of well-loved movies that have become iconic, and part of the pop cultural zeitgeist, we tend to immediately think of its actors and directors and producers and other big names involved in the movies. But Little reminds us that the not so well known people who help craft a movie together also have important contributions that can make a movie iconic. So let's not forget other people behind the scenes who lend a hand and make big strides to make some truly great cinema. And back in 1981, Little did create something truly important. A terrifying clown doll that has impacted many people's lives. For lack of better terminology, she created a legend. Be that a scary legend, but a legend nonetheless. As for this need and desire to own props, real or replicas, well, to conclude, I think this goes back to the idea of owning pieces of movies that mean so much to us, immersing ourselves with something that had an impact on us. Bringing something from a fictional world into our own. I think that it makes us feel like that we're that bit closer to those movies we love. And I do think that this is a very healthy and positive thing. Now often whenever people come over and see that I have the Poltergeist Clown, the reaction I usually get is WTF, which is fine, I get that. Horror movie prop collecting is an acquired taste. Or they say something like, hey, I thought that clown was really funny and scary movie too. Completely getting their movie clowns mixed up. And some people are genuinely terrified and tell me to burn it. And say things like, haven't you seen that movie? The clown is evil and possessed, and people died making those movies. To which I usually reply with, it's just a prop, it's not gonna harm you. I even had one friend who refused to be in the same room as it. But you know, to me, people who can't tell the difference between a movie and a prop is scarier. But it just goes to show the magical hold that movies have over people and our day-to-day lives. And furthermore, why wouldn't we want to keep a part of that? It demonstrates why lovers of cinema would want to keep pieces of their favourite movies as a monument to behold their true, absolute love of cinema. So that was my exploration into the Poltergeist Clown doll. Truly an amazing prop with an equally amazing history. And once again, thank you to Stephen to Stablight Creations for his efforts in recreating this classic prop. Link to his work down in the description. And of course, another thanks to Annette Little for bringing to life her amazing vision. Anyway, I'm Minty, and... sleep tight.